Hello, fellow travelers. Welcome to Respawn Station. My name is Kandula, and today I'm joined by Nick Sivak as we hit. Oh, snap. Look at that, Nick. Look at the watch. Look at the time. It's episode 21. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. We've done it. We are in the top, 1% of podcasts. I mean, look, at any day now, Netflix is going to buy us up for a cool $200 million, and then we're set. We're set for life. But no, honestly though, I have to say, 21 episodes, hell of a run we've had so far, Nick. I think we have, I think here's the general discussion. We won't dive too deep into it, but I think the reason why, if you have 21 episodes during the top 1%, by the way, which top 1% is still like 200,000 podcasts or something, but I think the reason why that statistic exists is because a lot of people start off, a lot of podcasts don't even make it past episode 3, and there's not a lot of consistency. And I will say one thing. One thing I'll give us, Nick, is that we have not missed a single week. In fact, twice, we've offered a bonus episode on top of what we regularly do. So I made you some content, guys. Open up. It's Nick. Here we are, man. Here we are. How are you feeling? Let's
episode 21. Yeah, I'm pleased at the consistency as well.
Yeah.
It's tricky to stick things out and be consistent like that, but
and we've had some close calls, but we've made it work.
We've had some close calls and like several scheduling things going down to the wire where it's just like maybe I won't be able to, but yes, we will.
Right.
So
I
think that it's worked out well.
Absolutely. And I'm sure we'll have an episode down the line where we'll talk about this later on. It's like, episode, I don't know what the next, milestone would be, like episode 50, 25, maybe. I don't know. That's only 4 episodes away. That'd be weird to celebrate again. Can you believe we made it?
We're just constantly celebrating over here. Honestly. We made another one.
Hey, we're avoiding nuclear war or something. So, at this point, we're just turning it into... We made it another week. Here we are. But no, that's the general excitement over here. Now, we're going to get into some rather not so fun topics later into this episode. A conversation we've had before on the podcast. Hopefully, we won't delve on it too long. But yes, we'll get to that bridge when we get there. Before, though... We have some important stuff to get to, starting with Nick. What the hell, man? What have you been playing? Why is there so much Call of Duty on this list? Oh my God.
We've fallen down the Call of Duty rabbit hole over on this end here. It feels like that. I don't know if you've seen it, Sri, but there was a classic video that came out when the Xbox One was revealed, where it was just a supercut of them saying Call of Duty and sports and TV. Yeah. And that's kind of what it's felt like the last week or so for me personally. I've been playing... Well, I played through the entirety of Call of Duty Vanguard since last week. The campaign for that game.
How is it?
And
actually, go ahead. You can give me the rundown. We can break it down if you want.
I was just going to say, I played through the entirety of Vanguard, and I'm working my way through Black Ops 2 currently.
Oh, shit. Okay. I was hoping you'd finish Black Ops 2. Okay.
Not quite yet, but...
All right, so Call of Duty Vanguard, hit me with it. What do you think?
It's okay.
What the? Dude, I set you up for such a good... Oh, my God. I mean...
It's... As far as Call of Duties go... It's, it has that production value, right? So it has, it looks very good while you're playing it. It feels very good while you're playing it. It sounds very good while you're playing it. But the campaign for this game is,
there's going to be an echo in this podcast, I tell you.
Really weird. It's like...
Is that Sledgehammer, by the way?
I believe it is
Okay, okay.
Sledgehammer. Um, it's kind of like an ensemble-ish sort of thing where there's this group called the Vanguard that you're following and playing throughout the campaign, and they're on this mission to get these top secret Nazi plans or whatever. Um, and the basically a lot of the campaign is made up of like flashbacks where like you get to see each different character, like missions that gain them prominence or whatever before they
Right.
came into this Vanguard group. And they're from all over, so it's like one of them's an American pilot that's doing like dogfighting in the Pacific. One of them's like a Russian sniper that survives like an invasion and everything and becomes this kind of like deified sniper soldier person basically.
Sniper soldier person.
Yeah. um there's just like you get to travel around and see these different pockets of the war, and the way that they kind of structured it as like this group kind of thing allows them to just kind of go wherever they want. Like you don't have to, you're not kind of like not like Call of Duties of old where it's like you're playing like the American story and the British story where it's like you have the same group of characters and it's more linear, just you're alternating between the two stories. This is like they're popping all over the place in this campaign.
Now,
And like
is that like, I mean, I have not played Vanguard, but I've heard about Vanguard. Like I know the general setup of like there's multiple characters. I think that the strength of Call of Duty is obviously the spectacle, which it sounds like this game has, but also like these characters that you kind of really get familiar with. Do you still get that in Vanguard? Because I mean, obviously, like you think of Ghost or Frank Woods. Like, there's a reason why Frank is still kicking, in modern Call of Duty games. It's because he's a recognizable name.
You do get attached to the characters, but they feel more like, basically, I'll use my friend's words. So my friend Declan was watching me play over PlayStation Share Play or like share screen, whatever that is.
Yep.
And he was like, they're more like stereotypes than characters. Like it's when I say it's the American pilot and you think of a World War II like American, like it's that is the character. When I say the Russian sniper, like that is the character, right? Drinking vodka and everything. Like so it's it's like they're okay characters. There's like moments that like might make you laugh or they each get their cool moment in the spotlight, right? But like to say that they're on the level of a Woods or a Ghost, like no, not even close.
Okay. That's fair.
It's just weird. And like the one thing that that is, you can kind of knock Call of Duty, you kind of can't knock it, but the like my friend basically we were talking, and there's this mission where you're playing as the pilot and your plane crashed essentially, and this is taking place in the Pacific. So you're fighting against Japanese soldiers, and like there's obviously when you kill enemies they'll drop weapons on the ground, and they drop these STG-44s, which basically that's like the German like assault rifle and everything. And it's like how does that make sense? And then there was even a different mission where it's like the weapon is called the STG-44. It was brought out in 1944, but the mission's set in 41. So it's like, how do they have these things here? So there's like little details like that pop up. But
does it look good and does it look cool, Nick?
It does. Yes, the
all that matters.
And the sound effects look cool. There is definitely spectacle.
Who gives a crap about historical accuracy? All right, that's what that's what Ubisoft has to worry about. All right.
But yeah, it was fun, but there was just several parts where I was like kind of laughing to myself with like some of the setups and everything. Like, you've played Modern Warfare 2019, the campaign for that, right?
Yes. Yep.
Do you remember the mission where you're playing as like young Farah and there's like a soldier in the house and you have to like sneak around?
It's like a stealth mission.
Yeah. Yeah. They basically recycled that same exact mission, but it doesn't make any sense because it's two fully grown adults And it's like, like it makes sense in
Sure.
Modern Warfare because she's like a little kid with like a fork or something that's like
Yeah, yeah.
trying, or like a knife. But like when you're using like an actual like whole ass knife and stabbing a man and he's just like teleports away to go like hide in a different part of the room, it made no sense at all.
Damn.
So there's like little things like that here and there. But again, like, you know, if you're just going into it for a, look at the gun go boom kind of gameplay, like it'll scratch
That's
that itch.
exactly all. That's all the stimulation my mind needs, That's all it needs. All right, but honestly though, Black Ops 2, I mean, first impression
Yeah,
strong or
strong, definitely. Obviously, Black
hell
Ops 2
yeah.
is a considered to be a fan favorite and was in that kind of
It's
peak
this
Call of
fan's
Duty
favorite, Nick.
time.
I'll tell you that.
That is your favorite?
Yes, it is.
Nice. Yeah, it's Black Ops 2 is very
I
interesting so far because it has so many mechanics and different,
ideas
like,
thrown in there.
exactly, ideas that have never come back. Like,
No, and
as far as I can
no one's
recall.
done it before. I mean, in the Call of Duty series, no one's done it before, and no one's done it after. Like the
Yeah.
fact that there's multiple endings and like certain missions have different approaches, as well as like there's like what are they called? I forget what they're called, but like there's like missions in between where you have to like take control of like a whole bunch of
Mhm.
other like essentially control a team of other people and robots.
It's like Strike Force or something like that. But
Yeah, yeah.
you get to switch between different like soldiers in that. It's kind of like a multiplayer match, but like
Yeah,
against
sure.
bots, and you can open up like a tactical view and like direct
Yeah.
soldiers and stuff. So
And it was
yeah.
I hated those missions though. I will tell you that. Because I think you can skip some of them because again that's another thing. Like I think depending on how you play, you don't have to do all of the missions. It's just like I think
Mhm.
maybe helps you with the ending or something like that. I remember when I first played it, I did, but like I've played the game multiple times and I've not always like in subsequent playthroughs I've given up on it.
Yeah, they're okay. I've done 2 of them so far. They it's definitely like it doesn't seem hard on the surface, right? But
And then you
as
get
I'm
into the thick of
playing, it's
things.
like I'm getting down to like 1 minute or like, on the edge of losing. And it's like, man, like I
Yeah.
didn't think I was doing so bad at this, but
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
maybe they are a bit harder. So yeah, it's like this is gonna, be kind of out of pocket and, just a side thing. But like I don't really like the sound effects in Black Ops 2. Like they
It's
sound
a very
very
particular, yeah, because they have to do these like weird futuristic stuff. But then,
mm,
yeah, no, I totally know what you mean. Like, there's a certain like quality because like I think a lot of the like Modern Warfare weapons are a little bit more meaty or like they have that
mm,
like that kind of aspect. I think Black Ops 2 especially has like they just sound like even the weapons that aren't just futuristic because there's like an AK-47 that's not an AK-47 in there too. Like yeah,
mhm.
they just sound hollow, maybe like I don't know, something like
They're
that.
very like hollow and clicky and
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
and like they're not bad. I just I don't really prefer that, but that's like a really tiny nitpick with it so far.
yeah,
I do like how within the campaign missions they kind of alternate between like older ones set in the 80s and the near future
yeah,
ones. I
yeah,
do like how that changes the aesthetics and keeps it kind of fresh. And it's
yeah,
like you get like your little nostalgia hit of playing as Mason and Woods, and then you get like some new people to play with. So
yeah.
yeah, I'm guessing I'm halfway through. I
Sure.
played the one mission that I have seen from the game where you play as Menendez. I
Okay.
played
All
that
right.
last time, so I don't know where that is in the story, but
Yeah.
so far I'm enjoying it a lot.
It's, yeah, I'm curious to see what ending you get. I think there's two or maybe three. I think two.
Hmm.
So it's like one or the other. But could be wrong. We'll see when you get there. Now, Nick, I have also been playing a Call of Duty game. Now, last year, around the release of Modern Warfare 3, I wrote an article that was called The Call of Duty Problem. And in it, I talk about a lot of things that you can find out over on respawnstation.com. But the one thing I said was that I had no interest in buying Modern Warfare 3. Here's the thing. I didn't have to buy it because last week it's on Xbox Game Pass. And while I haven't played a Call of Duty in quite a little bit, like quite a few months, and the last game I played, fun fact, Nick, was Vanguard. I'd been watching a few YouTubers who regularly play Modern Warfare 3, so I figured, hey, why not? Let's hop on, see how rusty I am. Fun fact, very rusty. But it's okay. It took me a little bit to get back into it.
I'm sure switching between X Defiant and Call of Duty is also not going to do you any favors.
Absolutely. And you know what? Here's the thing. X Defiant has been my Call of Duty replacement, my supplement, my supplemental Call of Duty. And I think one of the things I liked about X Defiant was like, oh, it's like a very arcadey feel. And I always, on the spectrum for me, right, I think Call of Duty has been arcadey and Battlefield has been realistic. Like that was the kind of spectrum. Now, obviously, I mean, there were two back there. I think my horizons were just narrower back then. But now there's, games that are much more realistic than Battlefield, much more tactical, that are like publicly, like much more widely accepted. And then there's games that are much more arcadey than, Call of Duty. But I thought in my head that X Defiant, I liked it because it was kind of like arcadey like Call of Duty. However, playing Modern Warfare 3, I was like, no, absolutely not. It is a different thing entirely. And I think part of that is that Call of Duty has in recent years, especially with the Modern Warfare series, gotten a bit more tactical. It's not quite Battlefield, but it is a little bit more in the middle ground. And I do think, in a way, I am right. I do think that X Defiant is an older Call of Duty feel, you know what I mean? But that being said, I've played over the past few days quite a few hours of Modern Warfare 3, and I just have some thoughts, okay? I just have some thoughts. Now, the first thing, same thing Nick said, and I think kind of echoes pretty much for all Call of Duty games at this point, and it is that it is like undeniably smooth. Like these games have so much money and so much talent being poured into them that obviously they're, the best that the industry has to offer in terms of almost any regard. I'm not saying like storytelling is crazy, and I haven't even played the story, so that's not what I'm going to talk about. But in general, Call of Duty games look and feel really awesome. And like I said, it took me a little bit to get used to the movement and everything. I will say that I also, dove into the deep end and I started playing Search and Destroy, because that's the whole reason, actually, I should say. That's the reason I downloaded the game, is because I was in the mood for some Search and Destroy, and that game mode has not yet made its way to X Defiant. So that was the main reason I went in. And going right into Search and Destroy was a terrible idea. I mean, I was like level 15 to 20, and I was in lobbies with people like 500, 800, 900. I felt, just out of my league. So I went to Team Deathmatch, and I was able to kind of recalibrate. And I did kind of, get a hang of things. I wasn't dropping, I wasn't feeding the enemy team. But that being said, I didn't really like the experience. Now, there's a few reasons I think, and again, playing through the game and thinking about it for the last few days, that explains why I'm not connecting with it. The first thing is that there's a lot of repeated maps, and in some weird like Nintendo inspired stroke, like Activision has, or Sledgehammer Games, whoever has brought in the 2023 Modern Warfare 3, they have brought maps from the first Modern Warfare 2, not to be confused with Modern Warfare 2 Remastered, which didn't have multiplayer, and then Modern Warfare 2 from Infinity Ward. It's specifically the Modern Warfare 2 maps from, like the originals. So there's Rust and stuff in there. I'm forget all the name. As soon as I started saying it, Rust is the only name that came to mind.
Scrapyard.
Yeah, not all of them. There's some of them in rotation. But it's weird because, so some of them are just kind of like almost as you remember them, but like, again, I think Rust has like this Borderlands aesthetic to it, so it's like cell shaded. One of the other maps has a variation where there's like it's like nighttime and there's like jellyfish in the sky. So it's like, dude, and there's one map I didn't recognize it, at least off the top of my head, but it was like just like spores growing all over the like tendrils growing all over the walls. It was weird variations of maps. I believe there's like some pixel maps and stuff too. But anyway,
I wonder if that's like season related or something like that.
I do think that they release new maps per season, new weapons as well. I think the new attachments, all that stuff. I think with the release of the game on Game Pass, they launched a new season of Modern Warfare 3 as well. But so these maps, honestly, they're classics. They're really, really good maps. But as I was saying earlier, I think Call of Duty has changed its kind of gameplay mechanics. So the more slower and arcadey Call of Duty mechanics and gameplay of the past, which those maps were originally designed for, doesn't quite work with this like, super fast movement. You can like tactically slide and dolphin dive and it's just all these kind of things make for some really chaotic matches that I was just like, I can't be bothered with this. And obviously Shipment's back, but like Shipment's like the nuke town for the Modern Warfare series, so it's gonna be there. But like, I mean, holy shit, it was a true. I mean, like, it's Shipment, so you either getting stomped on or you're doing the stomping. So I had some very bad Shipment matches, but honestly, yeah, that was a huge thing for me. I think that the maps with the fast gameplay, and again, I'm not like, I want to make this clear, and I'm not trying to back myself up here, but I'm not just saying that because I say I'm bad at the game, because I did manage to recover. That is not a factor. And also, like, I believe it or not, okay, now I'm gonna really fucking out myself. I actually decently enjoyed Vanguard's multiplayer. Like, I played a bit of it. It wasn't like, I didn't bounce off of it immediately like I did Modern Warfare 3. And again, I haven't paid for it. I mean, I guess maybe I have because I have my Game Pass subscription, but if I bought it when it came out for 60 or I guess $70, I would have probably been disappointed just as it was. But hey.
Yeah, I'm interested to give the campaign a try because I've heard it's like one of the worst that they've ever put out.
Yes, that's also on my list because I've heard it's short and kind of like Warzone or something. And honestly, like, it sucks so much because I think that and this happens in the Call of Duty series previously too. Modern Warfare 2019 had such a good fucking campaign. I mean, it was like again, we've said it before, but like that game breathed new life into the series, and campaign was no joke. I mean, cleaning house, something like that. Whatever that mission is like, I think top tier Call of Duty missions just because of how like everyone talked about it. Like, dude, that game, did you see that fucking mission was so real? Anyway, Modern Warfare 2, I think, kind of continued that, but then Modern Warfare 3 kind of just threw that out the window. And the same thing happens with Call of Duty. Or sorry, not Call of Duty, Black Ops. Black Ops 1 and 2, again, you're going to experience Black Ops 2, but like really like weird, cool stories, very kind of bold, weird ideas that they go for. Black Ops 3 contains the weird, but like it kind of goes maybe a little bit too abstract for some people. But then Black Ops 4 is like, hey, who cares about campaign? They're like, what? Right. Are we talking about the same games here? So yeah, it sucks that they kind of, I don't know. If I play the campaign and maybe Nick will I know he's slaughtering through these Call of Duty games, so maybe once he gets to it, we'll talk about it again. But yeah, at the moment, I don't have any interest in going back to Modern Warfare 3.
At some point, I will not have a Call of Duty campaign to talk about because I will have finished
one
them,
day.
So.
One day.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Well,
Sri, there's one other game that you and I both have been playing. Do we want to talk about that?
Shit. See, I think we could. I think we should tease it. Here. How about this? We'll say that We'll really. This is going to be a huge tease. I'm on chapter 8 now. What chapter are you on?
I think I'm also there,
Oh,
if I
okay.
remember right.
Okay, so we're not going to say what game. We're working on a new show here coming up on Respawn Station, and it's going to be it's going to be a big surprise. We're going to talk about video games, but it's going to be about a game that we've been excited for. Austin's going to be hopefully joining us as well, and that's all I'm going to say about that. But man, Nick, this game's doing it for me, man. This game's doing it. That's all. What do you? I mean, you can say it as vaguely as you can.
I'm also enjoying it.
Hell yeah.
I think it kind of plays into both of our tastes a little bit when it comes to games.
Yeah.
And I'll say this. I've played some other games from this specific kind of franchise, and this is the third game in this franchise that I've played, and I still feel super lost when anybody's talking. So,
part of my tooth. I just hit my tooth with the water bottle. Anyway, no, I totally agree. We also, yes, we experienced the same amount of games, different games, but the same amount of games in this series.
Mm-hmm.
I have some additional context that has set me up a little bit, but I do think, it's still like, it's going to be a fun conversation. I will tell you this.
We'll get into it.
I have I've been taking notes differently. I got a huge list of notes for this game. So I was trying to restrict the episodes that we're going to do for to a shorter length, but we'll see, man. We'll see. I think if I just read these out loud, we'll hit the time limit. Anyway, that's a little tease. Now, there's a game that I've been wanting to talk about for a few weekends that I haven't had the chance to because we've had some pretty packed episodes, but now I can finally talk about it. I have been playing The Evil Within, and some of you who are listening to this might have tuned in live over on Twitch to watch me do so, but for those of you who haven't, and even for those of you who have, I want to talk through some of my thoughts on this because, first of all, very different from the other Tango Gameworks game I played, Hi-Fi Rush. So I wasn't expecting this to be a horror game, to be honest. So that kind of spooked me a little bit. But no, I had no idea until the literal opening moments of the game that it was the what this game was representing. Like, it is essentially a spiritual successor to the Resident Evil series. Obviously, it's from the director, right? I believe of the Resident Evil series. But then
Shinji Mikami.
But then the title really hit me. Yes, thanks for the name. The Evil Within is the Resident Evil. It really it really brought it together for me. Now, knowing nothing about the game, I was joking about the fact that it wasn't. I was surprised it was a horror game, but I really didn't know much else about it. And so going in and cataclysmic events are happening in the opening of this game. I'm like, I thought I was signing up for Resident Evil, not 2012, the movie. And also the first 3 chapters of this game, again, because I play for people's entertainment sometimes, so I succumb to peer pressure. I did the survival difficulty for the first 3 chapters. Holy shit, that was so intense. I mean, it was the most I hadn't felt that kind of intensity in a video game in a few months. I mean, it's been a long time. And so that was a crazy experience. I texted Nick I think the night after I played it. I was like, holy dude, that was a terrifying experience, because the end of, for those of you who don't know, and I'm not going to really talk about spoilers here, though I am about 2/3 done the game. So while you could consider this first impressions, I have most of my thoughts are kind of solidified here. But the opening of the game, the first 3 chapters ends with the sadist is what the name is, and that mission going through this, you essentially have this. You're trapped in this little compound, similar to how in Resident Evil 4 in that little village in the demo area, and there's a guy with a chainsaw, and he's chasing you, and you have to figure out a way to kill him. And that sequence, I mean, I was hiding in closets, like, oh my god, please don't fucking look at me, please, and super immersed. Then the next stream, just because, like, I mean, the last like 30 minutes was me dying of that of the chapter 3, so I was like, all right, let's tone it down. That's, so we make it through the story, and almost immediately it felt like you took the foot off the gas. Like it was like so much slower, and not as intense. It was still it still had intense moments, but it was like you could feel the difference, like I was going into situations where I was like, oh, I can go in for this like more risky move, whereas like I would not have dared. I was playing like a absolute bitch on survival. But here I'm like a little bit more Leon Kennedy. I can kind of kick some ass, that kind of vibe to it. But that being said, really interesting story. Like it is a little bit like convoluted at the start, but like as it's now coming together, I'm really interested in see what happens. I like this. I think some people could make the argument that it is slow on the delivery of information and background like for characters, but I also kind of appreciate how, at the dose that it kind of gives you, because it's very like small doses of like, oh, here's a little bit about this character that you're playing as, and here's a little bit more information. And as it's coming together, at least from the way it's looking for me, I think it lines up nicely for kind of the events to come. I'll say that much. But still, this is a top-notch horror video game. And there was like a weird thing in the last like 40 minutes of the last chapters I played, where I had entered some sort of Zen state, Nick, where, I mean, and again, I'm watching with chat, and Austin and Alexa are also, just as Nick was talking about the share play earlier, that's how they watch live, and they kind of like can experience the horror with me. And for these last like 40 minutes, I was so zoned in. I had like this mini boss fight, and I like, they're like, do this, you got to do this. And I was like, I mean, it could have been like Mr. Blue Sky was playing in my head. I was so calm and cool, collected, which was weird. I feel like that is a cool experience, but it feels so tonally different from the first 3 chapters for me. So I feel like I've had a weird journey going through the game, kind of changing difficulties a little bit through. But with all that said, I'm looking forward to playing more of it. Hopefully in this weekend or the coming weekend, I can put a bow on it and confirm my thoughts that I already have, which is that I like it, and I'm excited for the second one.
Yeah, I need to hop back into it, because I started playing it months ago and played it for one night and then got distracted with other things. So I really want to go back to it. And
it's such a weird. I feel like I was wrapping up, and then look what you did, Nick. Now I'm going to talk about it some more. It's one of those games where you start, and I'm not even talking about, like, obviously, like I said, like the start is so unexpected because it's like cataclysmic events are happening, and you're like, I don't know what's happening, but you don't really know where the rest of the game is going. Like, there's a part, at a point I was just like, man, I got no idea where. Like, if you asked me 5 missions ago where I'd be, I would not have said here, and I don't have no idea where I'm going to end up 5 missions from now. But it's a ride that I've enjoyed so far.
Right on. Yeah, the other thing that I know is a conscious thing among people that play The Evil Within is that the first game has its fans and the second game has its fans. So it'll be really interesting to see when you and I both get around to the second one as well, where we both land on that. Because I know some people like the more structured kind of Resident Evil approach of the first one, whereas the second one, it's like a little bit more open. It's got like some like semi-open world segments to it.
Oh shit, I had no idea.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And so like I said, Shinji Mikami directed the first one. I believe the second one was directed by John Johannes,
The
who
director of Hi-Fi Rush.
directed Hi-Fi Rush.
Yes,
So.
yeah. I think so as well, but cannot confirm. Chat, feel free to confirm. Fact check the hell out of that. Prove us wrong.
I got to get back to it though.
Yeah, dude, you do. I think. Also, I'm one of those people. I'm not a coward like these Austin Perkinses. I'm not a little crying baby. So I fully commit myself when I'm playing games. So I have like headphones in, volume up, lights off. Except for the little kind of ambiance light behind me, which is turned to red for the ambiance. So yeah, it's I'm fully in this. And I will say there's been some decent jump scares that have gotten me, and it has that same thing. Dude, Nick, what the hell, man? I'm talking about the game some more. It has these kind of almost like alien not isolation kind of moments where you'll be in a closet. I mean, this literally happened last weekend where I hid in a closet and you hear like a monster thing, run like walking around, and Austin's like, dude, imagine if it like starts walking toward us, and then as if he heard it, the fucking thing starts walking, and it was like, wow, this is like some cool, it's like these weird, or at least as far as I know, feels organic to me, because I think every time you do it, it's a little bit different. So that stuff was cool. I digress. I will not talk about the evil within anymore in this episode. Okay, I give you my word. Nick, let's talk about the headlines, man. What's going on over there at the top?
Yeah. So basically, if we want to here, let's start with this one here. So, obviously the Olympics are going on, and
yes. Have you watched?
I have only seen like very small bits and pieces. I've not been watching it pretty hardcore.
Dude, I tuned in occasionally as I'm just kind of like, if I'm doing something else, I'll put it on the TV. Dude, they are milking this thing, man. There are so many ads on this. I mean, god damn, it's like every like people will take a step and it's like, this step was brought to you by Toyota, driving the Olympics forward. Like, oh my god. Wow.
Right. My one friend was watching, I think, the opening ceremony, and he said that there was like seemingly some Assassin's Creed thing.
It is, yeah.
That's cool. I still haven't seen that yet, but I do want to watch.
Oh,
that.
really?
I feel like the Olympics has done some stuff like that in the past.
It's a guy that's dressed kind of like the character that's in Unity, and then I guess seemingly kind of confirming or at least nodding their head back. I think Ubisoft also like tweeted about it with a clip from Unity. So. Yeah, that was cool. I was, me, dude. I like Assassin's Creed, so seeing it at the Olympics was unexpected, but I'll take it.
So what's one thing about this Olympics that you haven't seen, Sri?
Well, I'd say Mario and Sonic, Nick. I haven't seen them at all. I saw Snoop Dogg, but I saw no Mario and Sonic.
Neither have I, and that is because the Olympics has not renewed their contract with Nintendo and Sega, and there is no new Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games
easy money,
this year.
Man. Easy money. What's going on?
Yeah, basically, I have this article from Eurogamer up. Olympics ditched Mario and Sonic series to explore NFTs and esports.
Wow, what a nice sentence you just said.
Right? So basically, this is from Editor-in-Chief Tom Phillips. The International Olympics Committee walked away from its partnership with Nintendo and Sega for the long-running Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games series in order to explore deals with new partners, NFTs, and esports, Eurogamer understands. As the real-life Olympics get underway in Paris, there's been discussions online of there being no new Mario and Sonic tie-in for this summer's games for the first time in almost 2 decades. Speaking with Eurogamer, a veteran behind the series has now said the decision to end the popular Mario and Sonic franchise rested with the International Olympics Committee, and which chose not to renew its licensing deal with Nintendo and Sega and allowed it to lapse in 2020. So, yeah.
Damn.
Mario and Sonic got the boot from the Olympics.
Disappointed in the Academy. No, wait, no, they're not at fault. disappointed in the Olympics. Honestly, I don't know
never
why
played any of the Mario and Sonic games, but it seemed like they did pretty well.
instead of running all these goddamn ads, maybe they should invest in that, dude. I mean, I don't know. It feels like a weird collaboration that makes sense. I don't know why it would break it, but hey, it's all right.
I mean, like, you got to give credit to that original one. That was the first time I feel like Mario and Sonic were kind of like, combined together in this way.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it was a really big deal when that first one came out.
Yeah, it was a crazy crossover.
Kind of an end of an
era.
But
look, honestly, it's not like Mario and Sonic need any help right now. I think that they're both doing just fine. Right. I think it's probably what it is. Their schedules are probably booked. That's Sonic's got his movie. Mario's got, I'm sure, the multiverse to save at some point. So I get it.
But it does. You do pose an interesting question, which is if Mario and Sonic do a team up movie.
Oh snap!
How gangbusters is that gonna do? So,
dude, that'd be crazy. It'd blow Inside Out 2 out of the water. I mean, yeah, that'd be. I think eventually, I do think there will be. Jesus Christ, I've been thinking a lot. Apparently, I'm not gonna say it again. I propose that there will eventually be a Avengers Endgame for the Super Mario Brothers movies, but who knows? Maybe 20 years.
Yeah, they'll have to build up to it,
and then they'll have like their own Deadpool. Is there a Deadpool for that universe? And then he breaks the fourth wall and says, "Yeah, all last like 5 movies and got his shit, huh?"
I don't know if there is one for Mario, but I bet Waluigi would fit that role.
Yeah, there you go. Waluigi kind of breaking the fourth wall, just staring at camera. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, wow, it would have been better. All right. What other collaborations do we have here?
So, basically, well, let's talk about SNK versus Capcom. SVC Chaos releasing on modern platforms, but not Xbox. What's the deal with that? I don't know. It seems like a running trend with a lot of these kind of fighting collections and
I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it's because it's hard to port games onto the Series S. I don't want to assume.
Well, yeah, I mean, theoretically, it shouldn't be with a game like this. That's
that's
several decades old. Like,
it's revolutionary backwards compatibility technology. Honestly, yeah, I don't know. It's always a weird thing. I feel like when it comes to these kind of things, I don't know how Xbox misses. Now, my only thought, and I could be totally off base with this, so I'm going to preface it with that, just so that I don't catch heat later. But I think it's because PlayStation and Nintendo have a much higher popularity in Japan, where I think this game would be more of a target. I mean, it's obviously a target audience around the world. We just saw Evo. Yeah, we get it. That's a fighting game, right? I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
So, but Xbox doesn't really have a foothold there. And I know they tried, and now I don't even know if they're going to continue trying because of the recent news about them not investing as much in the physical sales. So I think that's probably it for something like this. For other games, I really don't understand. And for like something like Baldur's Gate 3, I mean, we know that was the Xbox Series S bottlenecking it. So, it's a different case per case. But yeah, that'd be my best guess for why Xbox isn't getting this one. Not worth the investment. Not another 10 people that own Xboxes in Japan.
Right. Another kind of sad pour one out sort of thing is that the Xbox 360's digital store has shut down for good. It is closed. It is done. You can no longer purchase anything on an Xbox 360.
I actually poured one out accidentally.
Nah, it was on purpose. Just own it.
I mean, I meant to do that. I meant to spill water on my desk.
Yeah, I was when we were talking about what we wanted to talk about tonight, some other breaking news came out, and we pivoted, but I was considering talking about this and thinking about the trajectory of the 360, because Sri, remind me, were you on 360 or PS3?
I was a PlayStation Nation for life.
Your
Oh,
PS3.
someone's gonna
I
clip that,
was
man.
yeah. I was on 360 and I was, the weird thing that came up, they haven't used this forever, but the thing that popped into my head when I was seeing articles and stuff about this was Microsoft points, which were like little
Ah,
gift cards that you could buy back in the day
right.
for, purchasing things. Like you could use a credit card and everything, but it was Microsoft points. That was kind of the thing.
Yeah.
And so I was just kind of reminiscing about the 360 store and specifically things like Xbox Live Arcade, where,
Yeah.
a
Some
lot
great
of,
games launched on that.
I mean, some would argue the indie scene in general was kind of
That's
launched off of the Xbox Live Arcade.
yeah.
And so some
Braid
great stuff.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Braid, Fez, like there's a bunch of stuff
Yeah.
that came out of there. Castle Crashers, which is also getting new
Hell yeah.
DLC seemingly. So
Never
yeah,
die. It's
sad
always
that
weird. I mean, like this is the thing, right? It comes down to this gigantic conversation that again we could definitely have a whole episode, and we probably will. By the time we hit episode 50, guys. But about like physical media versus these digital stores. In theory, it's nice. Like someone, I regardless of what happened with him afterwards, the completionist, created like a big deal when he went into the 3DS or the Nintendo eShop for the 3DS or whatever, and like bought all the games on there before it went down. Stuff like that is nice and cool, but like those games are still gone, and it's you can't really access them. I mean, obviously, again, I will say to Xbox's credit, they do support the backwards compatibility pretty extensively, like better than PlayStation has. So I'll say that for sure. And so I will give them that, but at the same time, yeah, it sucks. Kind of, it's weird that look, I'm not encouraging it, but if Ubisoft can say it, I can say it too. Long live piracy. I mean, look, how the hell are these games going to be played by anyone else who wasn't alive during this period of time, to experience the game?
Right. Yeah, that's the other thing where it's like, console hardware, obviously it ages out. And
Yeah.
it's a bit different because the 360 and the PS3, because the PS3 is not, completely foreign to this either. They tried to shut down their store and everybody kicked up such a fuss that they're like, okay, sorry, like we won't do that. But the PS3 store is barely functioning like as it is. And it's like these are the first generation that we've had like, widely internet connected systems. Obviously you could connect like the original Xbox and the PS2, but like where the online aspect and like digital purchases were like a core element of the console. So this is the first time that something like this has just been, being phased out or shut down. And I don't think, because we're not like used to it or anything, I think it's rubbing a lot of people the wrong way, where it's like you're taking away access to these things in a way that like a console aging out never did, right?
Yeah.
It's just you can't. I mean, it kind of is like that. You can't go to a Walmart and buy a GameCube game, right? Like,
Yeah. And I think
things progress.
Part of that is, look, certain games, like for example the one we were teasing earlier, came out in that generation, in that era, and we can still play it now because there's like an anniversary edition of that game that came out that we were able to pick up at a sale. But then who is making that decision? Like someone's essentially making, hey, this game is worth bringing it to new audiences, and this game's not. And I guarantee, and I think this is like if we're going to have our main topic about this, if we're stating it very clearly, I think that the reason why backwards compatibility and game preservation is so important is because someone's favorite game is currently unplayable right now, and they don't even know it. Like games that they might not have, like they currently don't have access to, that when they do play, they'll be like, "Holy shit, this is my favorite game." That sucks, and it's a loss for like the art that video games are. I mean, look, one day when Duke Nukem Forever becomes unplayable, guys, look, someone's gonna miss out on that, guys. But no, I do mean with the rest. I just have to end on a joke, but you get what I mean. Next, there's a strike.
Yeah. SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, specifically their video game actors are on strike over protections against AI.
Yeah.
Because apparently some companies are not being as clear and taking a stance on that as everyone would like. So,
dude, this AI stuff is weirding me out, man. I mean, look, I will say, like, it's not even the fact of, like, yes, obviously, like, it'll steal jobs, which is what I think what this conversation's about, and it is a very legit one because there are so many jobs that, like, are replaceable by AI, but replacing with AI would replace the human touch that kind of makes it special. You know, if we're talking about voice acting specifically, there's a certain thing about here. I'll just share my perspective, right? And obviously, that's kind of the whole point of this whole thing, I think, Nick.
Yeah.
So when I'm playing a game like Uncharted, for example, and I hear Nolan North's voice, it's not just because, like, oh, that's Nathan Drake. It's also because it's Nolan North, and I know that character. I'm not the character, but I also know the person in terms of, like, you know, who he is. Like I've seen so much of him, and also him in other games. Like that, it almost like creates this kind of web of kind of interconnected works, and it's so interesting to see a body of work grow. I mean, when you look at someone like Troy Baker, I'm saying really big names because people will recognize these names, but when you look at someone like Troy Baker, you go back 15 years and see what Troy was working on, and then, you know, 2013 was huge. Like seeing that ripple and, like, in his career, and then that kind of evolution, you don't have those kind of investments when it's like, you know, AI. You know, oh, this like it was like a sampled by, you know, Keanu Reeves' voice, but we studied every movie he made, and then now we've produced a Keanu Reeves voice that can say, you know, I don't know, some stupid shit.
Check this out.
Yeah. So I think that's what it's missing, and yeah, I know a lot of people are like, yeah, it saves so much money and stuff, but, like, taking the human element out of it, I mean, it kind of cripples a lot of performances.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think we have a current example that we can even point to, which was the finals. The finals used AI voices for some of those, like, in-game announcers and stuff. And, like, you just kind of listen to it, and like you say, like, that human element's kind of gone. Like, it just kind of feels like, I don't know, like a teleprompter had a voice, if that makes sense. Like, it's, you know, the red team, are they going to upset the competition? It's like it's weird because it's like, it sounds generic, but, like, I don't know how to necessarily phrase it. It's just, outside of what you already said, that I think that, you know, that human element just goes away. So
yeah, obviously,
I think, you know, a strike at this time is very important, so that way we can just be like, hey.
Well, you know. I also, to, you know, be fair, I think that there is, I can understand some situations, right? Like, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, there was a game I played last year called Spaceborne, maybe Spaceborne 2. I forget, but either way, Spaceborne 2, I'm going to say, is a game developed by a solo developer, and I believe they used some sort of, like, AI speech-to-text type of thing to get the lines over for this game, which is, by the way, incredibly ambitious, and I can kind of understand that. Now, that being said, I think that the genericness, like, and you can tell, I mean, there are some dead, like, line deliveries, you know, like, you know, the SAG video game actors on strike. Like, it's very bland, and I think that's something you have to know going in, like, that you know, hey, like, it's a little bit off, and people will know that, and you have to, as a player, has to know, like, hey, you know, some of this stuff sounds a little weird, but you have to kind of work past it to see the bigger picture. I understand situations like that, but I just think when, you know, you have these gigantic game companies that are making, hundreds of $million budgeted games. It's a little
Who
weird.
could pay the humans? Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Like
exactly.
That's where the water gets really murky, and it's like, yeah, we kind of need to establish some ground rules going forward.
And I think that to finish up my point earlier about, not just for that reason, but I think AI is just weird in terms of like the ways certain things are implemented. I don't know if you saw this, but earlier today there was this trailer released for I believe it's called Friend AI, but it's essentially like a necklace you wear with like an AirTag looking thing at the bottom of it, and that AirTag is an AI pin bot thing that essentially can listen into what you're saying. I might have a camera, I'm not sure, but it had this ad that is so like, it feels like it was like an AI written script of like, it's these people that are like, oh, you know what? Here's a relatable thing I can talk about from that ad, Nick. It's a bunch of dudes, all right, and they're hanging around the sofa playing video games, and our main POV character, wearing his stylish, not totally clashing with the outfit at all, accessory of this AI pin, all right, he's getting his ass handed to him. And his friends are like, dude, you suck at this game, bro. You suck. And then he gets a ping from his phone, so he takes his phone out, and it's an AI. It's a message. And this is, look, unless I'm getting the context wrong, this is true. This is exactly what it is in the ad. He gets a notification. It's a message from the AI, and the AI says, dude, you're getting destroyed. It's embarrassing. And then the dude's like, and then he chuckles, and then goes back to playing. Dude, what? I don't need to be cyber bullied by a fucking AI pin, all right? I already get that shit from regular. Earlier today, I was playing X Defiant, and all right, I did kind of have it coming. I teabagged it, guy, and then he, like, after the game ended, he was on the enemy team, obviously. After the game ended, he invited me to join his party, and then I didn't join his party, and then he said trash, and then I didn't even notice. I just kept playing. The next match, he's still in the same lobby, and he's still on the enemy team. We got like a 20-point lead, and he rage quit at the last second. So I sent him GG anyways. I am a fair player. I'm not toxic, but I mean, other than the fact that I teabag, but that's just like in my blood. I got a lot of tea in my blood. Anyway, I digress. That AI pin is dumb as hell, man.
I thought the whole point was for AI to make it better, not to just dog on you when you're doing bad.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's like I think the idea is like, again, like the idea is like it's an AI pin that's like an AI friend that's not imaginary. I think that's like their slogan or whatever. But like, dude, I got plenty of imaginary friends. I don't need non-imaginary real friends.
Yeah.
Jesus. Anyway.
Well, slightly a little bit more positive. Bethesda Game Studios and the World of Warcraft team at Blizzard are unionized now.
Yes.
So that's cool. It is just the World of Warcraft team currently at Blizzard, but as far as I can tell, it is everything under Bethesda Game Studios for their union. So, and Microsoft, both Microsoft-owned studios, obviously now, and they are, fully recognizing that as of now. So,
damn, nice,
pretty interesting.
We've
seen like bits and pieces where it's like, Bethesda, or I think a couple at like maybe Raven or something.
Yeah.
Where like QA testers were unionizing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Bethesda one at least seems like it's multiple disciplines across all of the teams. So very cool.
Nice to see. Though some people might not agree.
Yep. Sri, so do we want to talk about the
before? I mean, don't get ahead of yourself, Nick. Don't get ahead of yourself.
I will relinquish control.
It's time.
Take the wheel.
It's time, as always. Actually, not always. We had a break. We had a hiatus. But it's time for the inbox. This week, I got another interesting lineup of games for you guys. Nothing crazy like last week, Nick. I'll have you know. I don't have any crazy questions coming your way. But that being said,
I do have to say real quick, I did look back at that clip and my mic did not pick up the laugh. It was a very audible laugh whenever you brought that up. I just wanted to make that clear.
I'll take it. All right, so the first game up looks very awesome. It's called Kill the Shadow. From publisher 663 Games and developer Shadowlight Sanctuary, Kill the Shadow is a suspenseful, narrative-driven detective role-playing game, and it's coming to PC via Steam later in 2024. It has a combination of highly detailed 3D environments and cool-looking 2D pixel art, as you guys can see. And honestly, I just thought the whole vibe of the reveal trailer that came out earlier this week looked really awesome. So definitely check that out. Again, that's called Kill the Shadow. Nick, I'm not gonna ask you any questions. I like this setting up though, just in case. Here's a fun one. Kena Bridge of Spirits, which is the PlayStation exclusive launch title, or not launch title. Was it a launch title? Now I'm checking. It was a PlayStation exclusive when the game launched, is what I was saying. But is now coming to Xbox. So it is coming to Xbox Series XS and Xbox One on August 15th. So just 2 weeks. Kena Bridge of Spirits leaps its way, or bounces its way onto Xbox.
I want to play that at some point. The
combat looks really
obviously.
The combat looks really nice, and it's one of those games that has such a clean aesthetic that it's just like, it just looks really nice and presents itself really nicely. So yeah, definitely one I want to get around to as well.
That team got I don't know if it was necessarily at their start or not, but they made a Legend of Zelda fan film that was animated a long time ago, which is just kind of like a weird little connection.
Wow.
Yeah, but that game looks awesome.
Well, speaking of Zelda, Nick, how about Crypt Custodian? A charming top-down Metroidvania meets Zelda-like from veteran developer Kyle Thompson, who made Sheepo and Islets. So the game is officially coming out on August 27th, and it's from publisher Top Hat Studios. And it's coming out on Nintendo Switch, PS4, PS5, the Xbox consoles, and PC. I said that really weirdly. So grab your trusty broom and play as Pluto, a mischievous cat who has died and landed in the Afterlife's palace. After a disastrous meeting with the Afterlife guardian, Kendra, you end up being immediately banished and sentenced to the Afterworld's janitor, to be the Afterworld's janitor forever. I messed up that pitch. I apologize to the Crypt Custodian and developer Kyle Thompson. I let you down. But that, honestly, the game looks really nice and really charming overall. So
another cool aesthetic there. Kind of reminds me of Hyperlight Drifter from the camera angle.
Sure, yeah, I could see that. This one is upcoming, but it's not a game. So on August 2nd, which is this upcoming Friday, THQ is holding their digital showcase. It's happening at 12 p.m. PDT, 3 p.m. EDT, and it is, I don't know, there's no exact length, but it's going to have some game updates, teasers, new announcements, and a lineup of highly anticipated games like Gothic 1 Remake, Titan Quest 2, Way of the Hunter, Disney's Epic Mickey Rebrushed, and more. So check that one out. That one looks cool. I mean, I hope we'll try to have a reaction for that as well, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, THQ usually has some interesting stuff. I'm always interested in what THQ, kind of like what you were describing when we were talking about the Xbox. I'm always interested in what THQ deems worthy to bring back.
Yes.
To the time.
Yeah, they are certainly the not the gatekeepers, but the keeper of the gate. They're certainly allowing certain games to come back to life. Though the argument could be made that it's for the better or for the worse. Right. With that said,
I think just before we move on,
go ahead.
SpongeBob. I think I don't think anybody expected Battle for Bikini Bottom to come back, and then
here we are. No.
then we get a new game. So that can literally happen to anything.
And a fun one. I did like the follow up sequel reboot spinoff, whatever that last year's Cosmic Shake was. I enjoyed it. Next up is a game that I have played already, and look, tempt me with a good time. I might go back. Green Hell is coming to current gen consoles on August 14th. So the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series XS, just in case if you guys are still calling it next gen for some reason. So this is from Creepy Jar, and I have played the PS4 version of this game, but this new version, which is free for all owners of the last gen version, that means me, guys, will get the full game priced at $25, as well as the Update 17, which has storage and transportation, Update 18, which has fortifications, Update 19, which has Flamekeeper, and also you get access to DLC that were previously exclusive to the PC. So it's, first of all, Green Hell is a survival game. I'll speak from personal experience. It's a first-person survival game, and I haven't played those games, but you can kind of compare it to like Stranded in terms of just like having seen the gameplay of those games. You're a man surviving in this forest, but there is a story as well. It's a weird, trippy. It requires you to be on like ayahuasca, but either way, it's a really cool one. And I actually enjoyed my time with this game, like just for the story alone. And I went back just because, like, with a new save, just to see how long it could survive. Fun fact, not very, but still, you know, it's a bad sign when I'm having trouble surviving in a video game jungle. I'm a lost cause when it comes to the real thing, Nick. I'm hoping the world doesn't end. All right, the last one on the inbox is we're going deep for this one, Nick. Thalassa, Edge of the Abyss, is, I guess, out on August 1st. So by the time you're probably listening to this or watching this, if you're not watching this or listening live, this game is out. So this is from Sarepta Studio and Team 17 Digital, and it's, I'm going to say Edge of the Abyss so I don't mispronounce the first part, but it's a first-person psychological mystery game, and it's coming exclusively to PC for now. It's developed by the same team that created My Child Lebensborn, and it delves deep into a melancholic journey of self-discovery. It looks really nice, and again, it's one of those, it has a certain aesthetic that I really like in these kind of like first-person, I don't want to say walking sims, but it's a certain, quality that I really appreciate. Call of the Sea kind of had it. There's a few games that you can kind of say that have a similar aesthetic, but
Edith Finch, like this very kind of stylized 3D, but not like, not like hyper stylized or like cartoony, just kind of, it looks very pleasing.
Exactly. So that's been your inbox. Hope you enjoyed, and be sure to check out those awesome games because, they deserve it. That's how I'm going to end that. Yeah, that's how I'm going to end that. Well, I have really no transition for this, Nick. I've got no way to make this transition smooth. Our last headline today is the main topic of this episode as well, and it's not a fun one, but it seems it's an increasingly relevant one. So to cover the headline first, Bungie has let go 220 people earlier today, which over the course of the last year means that they have lost almost a quarter of their personnel. They went from 1,300 people to about 850. There's a lot that this has. There's a lot that this can mean to the industry, for Bungie in general. And I know our title sounds a little bit doom and gloom with the end of Bungie as we know it, but I think it's an interesting thing to look at. And obviously, look, we're not trying to clickbait. I think this is an actual conversation and an actual reality that we'll face. I don't think it's going to be as simple as like, oh, we snap a finger and it's Bungie's gone.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, you have to understand that this is now also a Sony-owned company, so it's got new investors. It's, work on under new management, and sometimes that things happen. Now, here's the thing, right? Look, guys, sometimes we talk about really serious stuff, okay? And it's sometimes nice to take a break from the really dark stuff to look at nice stuff. For me, like, for example, I like to look at cars. I think cars are really cool. So I wanted to pull up some nice cars here. This 1961 Chevy. I mean, these are some nice looking cars. I look at this fucking 1971 Porsche. Wow, that's a nice garage, I'd say, Nick. That's a nice garage. Now, let's talk about the CEO of Bungie real fast. So Pete Parsons, who is the owner of those beautiful cars, is, first of all, his last tweet, not including retweets, which he's had 3 retweets, but not including those, his last tweet was from last October, saying how sad he was about the layoffs, man. That's so sad. And here we are again with more goddamn layoffs. And, it's one of those things where I think we all get increasingly frustrated. I'll certainly get salty. I mean, I just cakes and pointed that. I mean, it's just weird that also, let's drive this point home further. 2 years ago, around the time when Sony first got Bungie, they didn't they're not, I don't know if they're like fully encompassed, but they're at the very least, they are have a major stake in the company, I'll say, right?
I mean, they acquired them. That was their language. Like, they do own that company.
Okay, well, this will make a lot more sense, I guess, as we continue talking about this whole thing. So, back when this news first happened with the Sony and the merger, acquiring all that stuff, they assured employees. There was actually a Washington Post article from 2 years ago, right after the Sony deal, where employees at Bungie said that leadership assured them that there will be absolutely no layoffs or restructuring from this. Has that happened? This is the second round of layoffs, unexpected, by the way. We go, we're both. I mean, Nick, we're at least tuned into this industry enough where there's a lot of people that come up on my feed that I've seen come up who are a part of the team that has been let go, who are blindsided by this. This comes out of nowhere. Just, hey guys, sorry about this. Here's an email. Telling you. I don't know if it's an email. I mean, it could be just one-on-one. They go one by one and just put them out of their misery in that regard. But anyway, so Nick, let's take a deep breath. What are your thoughts before we dive into this public statement that they've put together called the New Path for Bungie?
Yeah. Obviously, as we've stated every single time we brought up this exact topic on here, it sucks. It's never going to get any easier. Seemingly, it's never going to stop also, clearly, based on the last couple of years. It'd be nice if it would stop, but I don't. At this point, it's like nobody is safe in this industry.
Yeah. I saw Gene Park, who's also a legend in this in the scene. He said he had at one point considered getting a job at Bungie because he felt that that side of the industry was more stable than the games media. But at this point, I mean, hey man, it's a toss up. It's a toss up.
Yeah. I mean, outside of like solo ventures and stuff, I mean, even the games media ones will probably slow down just because they're all getting bought.
Yeah,
and there's not going to be many big ones left.
Look,
anymore,
I'm sure that clip might be taken out of context too. Well, go for it, man. I don't care. But either way, like that, I'm not saying that Pete Parsons is like solely responsible. But that being said, dude, that's a lot of fucking cars, man. What the fuck? How are companies making? How are the top 1% making this much money? First of all, not all top 1%. We're not making this much for being top 1% podcasters, by the way.
Right.
But that being said, how are these? Like, I don't even understand how you think that's a feasible way to run the business. At one point you have to say, yeah, maybe the green Porsche is nice, but maybe that's enough.
Right. Like, I mean,
some of those cars. And again, this is not all about this, but some of those cars are salaries, like yearly salaries for some people.
Exactly, and I think, obviously, executives everywhere get paid a lot, right? That's how capitalism and business works, right?
Yep.
But it's like the thing that because we're gonna get into this, new path forward article, essentially email, however you want to call it,
PR statement,
blog post, PR statement. It's written by Pete, so when you see things like that where it's like you mentioned like the last tweet was him bemoaning the layoffs. It's like, it just makes you look real bad, man. Like, why? Like, I don't know.
So, the new path for Bungie. This was published 11 hours ago on Bungie.net. It's not a super long statement, so we're going to fly through it a little bit. This morning, I'm sharing with all of you the most difficult changes we've ever had to make as a studio after the last one from October. Due to rising costs of development and industry shifts, as well as enduring economic conditions, it has become clear that we will need to make substantial changes to our cost structure and focus development efforts entirely on Destiny and Marathon. This means, beginning today, 220 of our roles will be eliminated, representing roughly 17% of our studio's workforce. I want to take a second right there, Nick. Look, again, this is shitty. So I'm going to read into this. The fact that it says 220 of our roles and not our employee, like, it's clear. Like, am I crazy? Like, it's trying to be like, how do we make this as not human as possible? Like, we got to get rid of the human element, because if they say 220 of our employees, or like it'll be like, oh no, it's bodies, it's human roles. That's just job titles. Who cares about that? Also, by the way, 220 of our roles, which are developers who've worked on the game, the most recent expansion, which is called the Final Shape, which is, if you look it up, almost unanimously a 9 out of 10. Overall, I mean, obviously people have gripes with it, but overall, a well-received DLC. So this is twice this year. This is twice this year that we've seen a developer put in the work. I mean, I'm not talking about developer as in just the conglomerate. I'm talking about individual developers, like the body of developers have put in so much work, and their reward for a successful game or an expansion, successful good content, is a kick in the butt, a boot out the door. That's
thanks for all that money you made us. Good luck.
Pete goes on. These actions will affect every level of the company, including most of our executive and senior leader roles. Today is a difficult and painful day, especially for our departing colleagues, all of which have made important and valuable contributions to Bungie. Our goal is to support them with the utmost care and respect. For everyone affected by this job reduction, we will be offering a generous exit package, including severance, bonus, and health coverage. Nice. Cool. The job would have been nice, but,
That reminds me specifically a lot of the Microsoft ones from Matt Booty, talking about like treating our departing colleagues with respect. It's just like, I don't know.
I realize all of this is hard news, especially following the success we have seen with Final Shape. There it is. But we've
just rub the salt in the wound too.
But as we've navigated the broader economic realities over the last year, and after exhausting all other mitigation options, this has become a necessary decision to refocus our studio and our business with more realistic goals and visible financials. We are coming to two major changes today. that we believe will support our focus, leverage Sony's strengths, and create new opportunities for Bungie talent. Now, I also want to say, part of this conversation, because I see this, like, I realize all this is hard news, God, some of this, as we've navigated the broader economic realities, hearing some of this stuff, right? I also think it's important to say, I've seen people from Bungie talk about how they'll be, I have seen people talk about how people at the leadership have said, oh, I'm not going to say who, Nick, have said, oh, yeah, I just bought these 2 new expensive cars. I'm not going to say who, Nick, please. I just bought these 2 expensive cars. I mean, like a week before the first round of layoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is that... where is that sympathy going, man? I mean, like read the room kind of thing. Like why would you? Anyway, let's continue. Go ahead. Did you have something to say?
Yeah, I know it's not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
But the thing that, I, as a person reading this, right, I'm not, in the Destiny community, right? So, like,
sure.
this, is this for people in that community? Is this for the employees themselves? Like, first of all, just who is this for, this messaging? It's being posted on their public website, so it's not like an internally leaked email like the Xbox one was. But whenever you say we've gone through all the mitigation, strategies, like, I want to know what that is. Like, I want a little bit more transparency from these companies if they're going to start using that as the excuse. I want to know exactly what you're going through and what options are on the table and stuff like that. Like, because like what does that include at this point? Is it like trying to save on software licenses? Like, I really, it's so in the dark for people on our end, where it's just like, the only thing we've seen for years at this point is just people getting fired. So it's like, what are the other mitigation strategies? Like, that's what I want to see, as somebody from the outside doing this. If you want to actually win somebody like us over, when you're announcing shitty news like this, right? It's like, I think we need to be a bit more transparent when we're having these conversations, rather than getting the, the repackaged JPEG for, that so many companies use.
Yeah. I mean, I it's just such a thing. Like, it's such a weird thing, because, like, obviously, I do think that, and I do want to keep this as level-headed as possible and say, like, yeah, the severance package and stuff, it is nice. It does help a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
I also see, I'll say Kelly Bean, who is associate producer, or previously associate producer at Bungie. She said, she tweeted earlier today, quote, "I've been impacted by the layoffs announced this morning. It's been a privilege working with everyone at Bungie for the past almost 5 years, but it's really bad timing because my maternity leave was supposed to start next Monday, and I just got laid off today," unquote. So, like, you still hear those stories, and stories of people who,
mm-hmm.
Like, just are, I think we've said it before, but completely blindsided by it. So I guess it's cool that, you're giving them a little bit something at the end to sweeten the deal, but still, I mean, it doesn't sweeten entirely. It's not, you can't ignore the shit taste with a little bit of chocolate.
Right.
All right, to continue though. First, back to Pete. First, we are deepening our integration with Sony Interactive Entertainment, working to integrate 155 of our roles, roughly 12%, into Sony. I'll just say SEI, over the next few quarters. SEI has worked tirelessly with us to identify roles for as many of our people as possible, enabling us together to save a great deal of talent that would otherwise have been affected by the reduction in force. Second, so that's actually the reason. After reading that, was the reason why we went with the title, for this video, about the end of Bungie. I don't think it's going to be, snap your fingers, the Bungie's over, like, hey, Nick, wake up, Bungie's gone. I don't think it'll be that fast. But it is this reality that it is a PlayStation-owned or Sony-owned company, and it's a big company too. And we're going to get into some of that stuff here more, but I think Bungie is certainly, hate to say it, restructuring. All right, so second, we are working with PlayStation Studios leadership to spin out one of our incubation projects, an action game set in a brand new science fantasy universe, to form a new studio within PlayStation Studios to continue its promising development. So that's another, wrinkle in that whole thing about how, it's a Bungie created idea, a whole new IP, but it seems this new Bungie, going forward will exclusively focus on Destiny and Marathon, which I'm guessing is close to being done. But either way,
all we have is a CG teaser for it.
Yeah, but I would have to imagine it's on the horizon at the very least. I mean, we only got a brief glance, but hopefully it's one of those, hey, it's out, surprise. But anyway, this new IP though, that's I think the big thing. Obviously, we don't know what it is. They just simply say it's a brand new science fantasy universe. Science fantasy seems to be their, it's Bungie's bread and butter. So something else in that vein.
Yeah, I think
what if they say it's Concord?
Concord 2 by a new team. I think I want to talk about the merging of
go for it.
The 150 roles or whatever jobs people over into Sony Interactive, because originally when Sony acquired Bungie, obviously the language around that was, we're kind of going to leave them alone. We kind of acquired them because of their expertise in the live service field.
Yep.
They know what they're doing. We don't. So we're going to keep that relationship as it is.
And to their credit, they seemingly have done that by canceling the Last of Us, or the spin-off game, the live service game too.
Right. They've been, offering that expertise throughout the company, but I think it's interesting. I don't really know exactly how to read it currently, that they would just, take a chunk of the employees. Are they trying to, foster that sort of expertise more in-house versus having that separate relationship? I really don't understand why that is, unless it is just a move where it's we have these positions and we don't want to lay off even more people, so can you please save some of these jobs?
I think that's it, and I really hope that it's not a situation of, hey, let's move these people, and then, a year after that, it's oh, hey, guys, due to restructuring and this evaluation of our current, something where it wouldn't be as, crazy of a news as this, PR statement from Bungie for this, Anyway, let's see here. This will be a time of tremendous change for the studio. Pete continues, let's unpack how we ended up in this position. It's important to understand how we got here. There you go, Nick. A little bit of context for you. For over 5 years, it has been our goal to ship games in 3 enduring global franchises. To realize that ambition, we set up several incubation projects, each seated with senior development leaders from our existing teams. We eventually realized that this model stretched our talent too thin, too quickly. It also forced our studio support structure to scale to a larger level than we could realistically support, given our 2 primary products in development, Destiny and Marathon. Additionally, in 2023, our rapid expansion ran headlong into a broad economic slowdown, a sharp downturn in the games industry, our quality miss with Destiny 2 Lightfall, and the need to give both the Final Shape and Marathon the time needed to ensure both projects deliver at the quality our players expect and deserve. We were overly ambitious, our financial safety margins were subsequently exceeded, and we began running in the red. After this new trajectory became clear, we knew we had to change our course and speed, and we did everything we could to avoid today's outcome. Even with exhaustive efforts undertaken across our leadership and product teams to resolve our financial challenges, these steps were simply not enough. As a result, we must say goodbye to incredible talent and colleagues and friends. This will be a challenging time at Bungie, and we'll need to help our team navigate these changes in the weeks and months ahead. This will be a hard week, and we know that our team will need time to process, to ask questions, and to absorb this news. I think they've absorbed it, Pete. Today and over the next several weeks, we will host team meetings and town halls, team breakout sessions, and private individual meetings to ensure we are keeping our communications open and transparent. Bungie will continue to make great games. We still have over 850 members building Destiny and Marathon, and we will continue to build amazing experiences that exceed our players' expectations. There will be time to talk about our goals and projects, but today is not that day. Today, our focus is on supporting our people. Pete. Unquote. Okay. Look. I get it. First of all, 850 people working on Destiny and Marathon, but that's without this the restructuring that is to happen, because it's, I believe, in the next few quarters it'll develop and kind of expand to like disperse the teams throughout, and that's also not including this other team that will, or this other studio that will branch off. So this team is about to go significantly smaller. I mean, 850 is not going to be the size of this team given this time next year probably. And look, I think Destiny had 1,000. Right, what would I say? 1,300, I think. Developers. Destiny
Bungie, 2, I think. Yeah.
Sorry, Bungie. Yeah, but I don't know what I said. Destiny 2, but for Destiny 2, Bungie had 1,300 developers. Obviously, that's a lot of developers, but for them to be working on this gargantuan project with 1,300 developers, again, they do say in the press release that they were working on some spin-off projects as well. But you have to imagine that these people were hired, at least a lot of these people were working on Destiny 2. That is the thing that is driving, that is the game they're shipping. Obviously, Marathon became a thing later on in the project, or later on in the life cycle. But how many people are going to work on both Destiny 3, supposedly, and Marathon? Like, how many people will be left to work on two games that will not just to concept it out, but like to keep up and running? Like, you know what I mean? Is this it? Because what this feels like is we're going to have they're in the red, so they're cutting some losses, and then, come 2 years, they'll be hiring again, and then this cycle will repeat as they, this weird ebb and flow of like, we're in the red, let's hire, or let's cut, and then, we're making money now, let's hire people, and then
that's the part of the last section here that kind of confuses me in the messaging, right? Because
sure,
mentions drop in the games industry, right? I don't know how many times podcasts like us and podcasts bigger than us need to tell people that is the most idiotic thing possible that you could, like, how did you people not see that because of COVID and because of everybody going back outside again, that there was not going to be a drop, and that it wasn't just going to be line go up forever, right? Like, it's idiocy, right? And I don't know how many times people need to, be told that, right? So on that front, it's just like, okay, well, you should have seen that coming. I don't know how you didn't. On the second front, where, we're talking about, like, we were in the green and we were scoping up for this, ambitious desire of having 3 games running at the same time, right? These 3 giant franchises. It's like, I don't know how you don't see what it's required to even just run like Destiny, right? Because Marathon's not even really in the equation right now. Like, it's still in development. So we wouldn't even know what the, potential manpower would be needed to sustain both Destiny and Marathon if Marathon is going to be like live service, which I guess
Yeah.
we have to assume based on the language that it's going to be kind of similar to how they want to run Destiny. So it's like I don't know how you're planning to achieve these ambitions if it's you know I just don't understand where the decision's being made here, right? And then how they have like a set number where it's like we need to let go of this many people, but you didn't know how many you were going to require to run it. Like that, this is where like I start getting really confused with the messaging here and you know, why the cuts are needing to be made. Obviously, money's the factor, and we're not going to see that either. Like what it takes to run these games, what it takes to run this business, and everything. But
And
that's where I start getting tripped up in here because it's just like, well, some of these things seem really obvious for any person to realize that it wasn't going to work out this way. Um, so why did they? And like this is the other side of it though. It's like you want to hire up because you have these ambitions. So it's like, did they have figures, but like were they just completely unrealistic figures to try to achieve, like they said, for what they're bringing in? I don't get it.
yeah, and I also want to again share a little bit of like I'm not gonna go through and kind of quote every single person that I've seen from the Bungie team that was let go, that kind of shared their topics about this, but it's it it wouldn't feel good, and as a person who's been in these similar situations where you're like, oh fuck, like what the like like the like layoffs just suck, right? And for people to say like not just the fact that this sucks, but also like there's some unfortunate kind of like I don't want to say anything that's like like just opinionated, but like obviously there's a certain culture at Bungie that seems to be kind of resting on the laurels of Halo and obviously creating Destiny as well as like these kind of two mammoth franchises, and like anyone who kind of speaks out against this is almost like labeled like anti-Bungie, that kind of workplace environment is also shitty to begin with, and people are kind of talking about that as part of now no holds barred as these people can kind of don't have to worry about pissing off their boss, I suppose. But then you also have this news that like the guy spent since the Sony acquisition, all right, $2.3 million buying classic cars. All right, you can't like these kind of things. You have to understand. I mean, that's if anything, if we do anything on this podcast, I hope that we give as holistic or kind of a well-rounded idea of the problem as possible. I don't think we're, at least so far, again, you guys might think otherwise listening or watching, but I don't think we ever approach a problem like, oh, this is the absolute thing. This is the only way to see a problem or to see the situation.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I hope you guys can make up your own opinion about it. I think based off of the information that we've shared, obviously all we can do is share our opinions. But this sucks, and I don't think it's the last we're gonna see this on this podcast. Hopefully, by the time we make it to episode 50, we'll be at the industry will be at a little bit of a better place, and we don't find ourselves, at the very least, if we're not addressing these issues, we're dodging these issues by saying, yeah, let's not talk about that this week, just because it'll be the umptieth episode about this issue. It's just that a different name, but it's the same issue.
Right. Yeah, and I also think it was a bit, it always comes down to the messaging of like these things. It was the same thing with the Xbox stuff, but like with this one, like obviously it's a strategy to suggest that you're announcing a new game when you're telling people that you're firing them. Like
yeah,
for the public facing thing, like
Yeah, I remember you had made a
We
similar
start to
thing
see
about
through these things where it's like it's you're just throwing that in to try to softball it and be like, well, maybe people will get excited about the new game. Like,
Yeah, I
don't get
remember you
so
made a
mad at
similar
us.
statement
Like,
about when the Xbox stuff happened, and they're like,
they're talking
and
about all the stuff that was coming
yeah,
out. Like,
this
oh,
winter
Starfield
slate
DLC
we
and
have the
stuff.
DLC because
Like,
our Starfield coming out. Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah, it definitely, like, it doesn't feel. It feels a little tasteless if all for being transparent, like they said they are. Yeah, and also I bet it's not fun to find out that you've lost your job through Twitter post, though. I'll also say that would that'd be salty. Well, anyway, with that depressing note, Nick, do you have any? Let's come up with a like this, try that, so we end up on a positive note.
Yeah. Let's see here. I know that we said with the segment 3 that we wanted to try to, it doesn't have to be always video game related, but obviously that's always where my head is gonna go back
That's
to.
totally fine.
It's
Yeah.
just video game stuff. Cool. I have one that's like itching my head, but like it's the game that we're playing, so it's like I don't want to specify.
I also have a
it
perfect
for
one for that, but again,
spoilers.
I'm not gonna spoil that either. Here, I'll give you some time with mine. I just came up with it because it's the top of my mind as well. But if you like the Batman Arkham series, I was trying to pick one. I've been trying to pick one of those all day, and I couldn't, so I'm just going to say the Batman Arkham series overall. If you like the Batman Arkham series, then try reading the graphic novel Nightwing. I think it's Leaping into the Light, Volume 1. That's what I've read so far. I just read Volume 1. I finished it actually earlier today, and I had a freaking blast. I mean, it was like, look, I always liked Nightwing, just because I thought it was like as cool as like a hero that was like living under Batman's shadow, and it was this whole thing. But dude, I mean, his story, like, I didn't realize he had such a character development, and so much has happened, and it was so cool seeing his story and just what happens. As someone who's not super into the comics and graphic novels, I haven't read. This is like my first graphic novel in quite a while that I've read. But even without that, there were some like, oh shit, like, moments where I was like, oh, I know that person, Leonardo DiCaprio snapping at the TV meme. Anyway, what's yours? What do you got?
So I came up with two.
Okay.
One is less, less fitting into the theme of the question, right? But the one that's more fitting, let's be topical. I'll say if you enjoyed Deadpool and Wolverine, give the X-Men Origins Wolverine Uncaged Edition a try.
Hell yeah.
It's maybe, again, we were talking about 360 store closing. It's maybe not the most accessible game.
Yeah.
I know it fetches a little bit of a price on the secondhand market. But it is Raven Software before they were sent to the Call of Duty mines, right? And it is a real kick-ass action game based on the movie that wasn't so great, but the game is really awesome. So,
and you can read about Nick's thoughts on it over on respawnstation.com after you finish playing it.
Good shout there. I completely forgot to even mention that I wrote something about it there. But the other one that I would say for like this, try that, is in the spirit of us hitting episode 21. If you like podcasting, why not give it a try? Try making your own. It's pretty fun. Again, we've been talking about some not so fun topics, but interspersed with some fun ones too. And
we have fun.
If like Sri and I, like, we like listening to podcasts, so it's like why don't we try throwing our hat into the ring on it? So
yeah. And thank you to everybody who does show up and listen every week. We appreciate it. The show has evolved, and has grown quite a bit over the last 21 episodes. And here's to 21 more. I'm looking forward to seeing how this show continues to evolve. I mean, look, we're 21 episodes in, and a segment has already died and then come back to life. So anything is possible. It's at this point, the podcast is just like the WWE. I mean, anything's possible. At any point, John Cena could show up. There's a non-zero sum chance. But with that said,
now that you've made that parallel, anytime Austin actually comes on here, has to be it's me, Austin, when he gets introduced.
I'll make it. I'll write it into his contract. But yeah, no, stick around because look, Respawn Station. Obviously, we're at a pivot here with our video content, but we are actually working on some stuff that I'm fairly excited about regarding that video content. What we have coming up. Again, we're not going to tease it, but we have two, or I'm not going to say exactly what it is, I should say, but I am going to tease it. We have 2 shows that are coming out, not yet fully named yet, so I'm not going to say it. But both totally different vibes, I think, but will be fun. And again, the game that Nick and I have been teasing around this whole episode, man, it's a good one. So I'm looking forward to talking about it. Hopefully soon. So. With that said, people, as always, thank you for watching another decently short episode, and I say that being an hour and almost 50 minutes. So, nevertheless, hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully, we were able to keep a little bit of levity to this dark-ass news cycle. If you enjoyed, obviously, hit the like button, subscribe, and check out Respawn Station, or check out watch.respawnstation.com to check out our YouTube channel. And with that said, Nick, anything else you want to say to the people?
Thanks for listening, and please be respectful, I guess, to people that are losing their job, because that's a shitty situation, as it always is.
Absolutely. And also don't be a dick to Pete Parsons as well. I guarantee you your tweet will not do anything for him. It's not going to do anything. Just don't say stupid shit like that on the internet. Don't put it out there. Do yourself a favor and do Pete Parsons a favor. Even if you might not feel like you want to right now. Just don't do stupid shit. Don't send stupid messages to people. All right? Be civil. But with that said, people, as always, thanks for watching. And until next time, have a good night, a good morning, and a damn good time.